All right, get ready to dive into Tallinn, Estonia with us today. You've sent over a ton of articles and travel tips, so let's unpack those and see what this medieval gem is all about.
I'm excited. Tallinn is a truly unique city.
Yeah, I mean, a beautifully preserved medieval old town recognized by UNESCO, and it's just a ferry ride from Helsinki. Sounds like a great combo to me.
Absolutely. And it's that mix of old and new that makes it so special. Cobblestone streets and medieval architecture, but with a really modern vibe, too.
Okay, so let's start with a place that's at the top of a lot of must-see lists. Toompi Castle.
Ah, Toompi Castle.
It's not just any old castle, though. It's actually home to the Estonian parliament.
Right, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. You have this medieval fortress that's still a center of power today.
And it's not just one style of architecture either. It's got Gothic, Baroque, Renaissance, all mixed together.
Yeah, it's like a visual history of Estonia, all in one place.
It's amazing to think about all the stories those walls could tell.
And if you want to hear some of those stories, they offer free guided tours.
Oh, that's a great tip. When are those available?
You can visit Monday through Thursday from 10 to 15:00 and on Fridays from 10:00 to 13:00.
Perfect. So after exploring the castle, I bet you get some pretty amazing views from up there.
Oh, absolutely. And speaking of views, the Patkuli viewing platform is just a 5-minute walk from the castle.
That's the one the articles mention, right? They said the early afternoon light is supposed to be incredible for photos.
Definitely. It's the perfect spot to capture those panoramic shots of the old town.
I can already picture it. Okay, so after all that walking and sightseeing, we'll need a coffee break.
Well, you're in luck. Kovik Dannebrog is nearby, and it's known for its cozy atmosphere and great views.
Oh, that sounds lovely.
It can get pretty crowded, though, so if you want to snag a table, try to get there before noon.
Good to know. Now let's move on to another iconic landmark, Tallinn Town Hall. This one's a real record breaker. It dates back to 1322.
Wow, 1322.
That makes it Northern Europe's oldest surviving town hall.
And it's still standing strong. It's a real testament to the craftsmanship of that time. The tilted roofs, the 200-foot tower, the archways, the small windows, every detail is just incredible.
I was looking at some pictures, and the inside looks just as impressive as the outside.
Oh, absolutely. You've got vibrant tapestries, stunning paintings, and those grand chandeliers.
And of course, no town hall visit would be complete without climbing to the top of the tower.
Right. 115 steps to be exact. But the view from up there is worth every step, I promise.
I bet it is. So when can people visit, and how much does it cost?
The town hall is open daily in the summer from 11:00 to 18:00. Tickets are €7 for adults and €5 for children.
Okay, that's reasonable. Anything else we should see while we're in that area?
Actually, yes. Right next door to the town hall is the town hall pharmacy.
Oh, I read about that. It's the oldest continuously operating pharmacy in Europe.
That's right. It dates back to the 15th century.
I love those little glimpses into history. And entry is free, right?
Yep, free to enter.
Perfect. Now, I think it's time for another coffee pot. What do you say?
I'm always up for coffee.
The articles recommend Milk Cafe. It's the oldest cafe in Tallinn, and they're famous for their marzipan figurines.
I haven't tried Estonian marzipan, but I've heard good things.
Okay, next up, we have Katarina Kaik. It's a cobblestone alleyway that dates back to the 14th century.
It sounds charming. What's special about it?
Well, it's lined with artisan workshops where you can watch local craftspeople create all sorts of things.
Oh, wow. So it's like stepping back in time.
Exactly.
Well,
They make hats, glassware, ceramics, textiles, you name it.
do you know what time of day is best to visit?
Actually, the articles recommend going in the late morning around 10:30 to 11:30.
Why that time?
Apparently, that's when the artisans are often more available for demonstrations.
Oh, I see. Less crowded, and you might get a more personalized experience.
Plus, you can get some great photos of St. Catherine's Church, which is over 700 years old.
That's incredible. All right, so we've explored some history, taken in some views, and had our coffee fix. Now, let's talk food.
I was just getting hungry. Estonian cuisine seems to be a fascinating blend of influences.
Right, you see a lot of influences from Finland, Sweden, and Germany, but with a distinctly Estonian twist.
It sounds like a foodie adventure waiting to happen.
Absolutely. If you want to really dive into the culinary scene, the articles highly recommend a food tour.
Did they mention any specific tours?
Yeah, they highlighted the Estonian food, drink, and history tour.
Oh, that sounds right up our alley. History and food, what more could you ask for?
I know. They mentioned trying things like rye bread, berry chips, and even homemade schnapps.
I'm already sold.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for something a bit more budget-friendly, the articles also recommend Balti Jama Turg Market.
Altijama Turg Market, got it. What's there?
They've got all sorts of affordable street food. Apparently, the kiluva is a must-try.
The what?
Kiluva, it's a classic Estonian open-faced sandwich with Baltic sprats.
I'll have to add that to my list.
And if you're looking for a more upscale dining experience, Live Restaurant gets rave reviews.
Live restaurant. Okay, I've got that down.
They focus on modern Estonian cuisine using local ingredients, but reservations are recommended.
Especially on weekends.
All right, so now that we've got our food itinerary sorted, let's go high, literally. The Tallinn TV Tower has Northern Europe's highest open viewing platform.
Wow, that's got to be an incredible view. How tall is it?
The tower itself is 1,030 feet tall, and the observation deck is at 574 feet on the 21st floor.
That's impressive.
Imagine those panoramas.
You can probably see for miles on a clear day. Do they have anything like a skywalk or edgewalk?
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
They do have an edgewalk experience for the truly adventurous.
So you can walk on the edge of the tower. I don't know if I'm brave enough for that.
Me neither. But for those who are, it sounds like a pretty amazing experience. So how much does it cost to go up to the observation deck?
It's 16 for adults and 11 for children.
And the articles had a few tips for visiting, right?
Yeah, they recommend booking tickets online to skip the lines, especially on weekends.
Good thinking. And there are combo tickets available too, right?
Right. You can get a combined ticket for the TV tower and the Botanic Garden.
Oh, that's a good idea. The Botanic Garden is just a 10-minute walk from the tower, so you could easily do both in one day.
I love those combo tickets.
Yeah.
It's always nice to save a little money. Okay, so we've seen the city from above. Now, how about some wildlife? Tallinn Zoo is the only zoo in all of Estonia.
Oh, that's right. And it's home to over 10,000 animals from over 350 species.
That's a lot of animals.
It sounds like a great place for families.
They have a Southeast Asian rainforest exhibit that sounds really cool.
What's special about that one?
It's designed to give you an immersive tropical experience with humidity, the scent of exotic flowers, the sounds of birds.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
And of course, no zoo visit is complete without seeing the big guys.
Right, like the elephants, the polar bears, the tigers.
Definitely.
Okay, so do you remember how much the tickets cost?
I think a family ticket is 21.
That's not bad at all. And I know the articles had a few more suggestions for that area.
Oh, right. They recommended combining a zoo visit with the Estonian Open Air Museum, which is nearby.
Yeah, you can see historic farm buildings and learn about Estonian traditions.
Or, if you're looking for a more relaxing option, Rocca al Mare Park is a beautiful spot for a picnic.
And it's right on the coast, so you get those lovely sea views. All right, so let's move on to a place that's a little bit more tranquil. Kadriorg Park. It's a huge park, about 170 acres, just a short walk from the city center.
A 170-acre park in the city. That's impressive.
I know, right? It's full of beautifully landscaped gardens, lush lawns, walking paths.
Sounds like the perfect place to escape the city buzz for a while.
And there are a couple of notable attractions within the park.
Like what?
You have the Office of the President of the Republic of Estonia and the Kadriorg Palace.
The presidential office and a palace? That's quite a mix.
If you want to delve deeper into the park's history, they offer a 2-hour walking tour. Or you can just find a peaceful spot and have a picnic. The articles also recommend checking out the Kumu Art Museum while you're in that area. It's Estonia's largest art museum.
Oh, cool. What kind of art do they have?
They have both contemporary and historical Estonian art.
And how much is entry?
It's $25.
All right. And any tips for visiting?
Yeah, the articles say it tends to be quieter in the late afternoon.
That's good to know. I always prefer a less crowded museum experience. And if you need a caffeine boost before or after your museum visit, they recommend Rival Cafe Kadriorg.
Sounds good. All right, now for a landmark that's a little bit hard to miss, the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral.
Ah, yes, the one with the onion domes.
It's very reminiscent of the Kremlin in Moscow, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely, and there's a reason for that.
I was just going to ask about that.
It was built in 1900 when Estonia was part of the Russian Empire.
That makes sense.
And it's not just the domes that are impressive. The facade is covered in colorful mosaics depicting religious figures and biblical stories.
It sounds beautiful.
And if you're into photography, the articles recommend standing in the archway across from the cathedral for the best shot.
Oh, that's a good tip. Now, is there a fee to go inside?
No, entry is free, although donations are welcome, of course. And it's open daily from 8:00 to 18:00.
Good to know. And the Katowice viewing platform is nearby, right?
Yeah, that's just a 5-minute walk away.
The articles say it's a great spot for wide-angle shots of the cathedral and the Old Town skyline.
And the early morning light is supposed to be amazing.
Perfect. All right, let's move on to a place that's full of history and energy, Freedom Square.
Freedom Square. It sounds significant. What's the story there?
It's dedicated to Estonia's independence, and it's home to a few key landmarks.
Like what?
You have the Monument to the War of Independence and St. John's Church.
Okay, so a place with a lot of historical significance.
It's also a really vibrant spot, especially in the evening. They have live music events, military parades,
Sounds lively.
and there's a really cool hidden gem in the square.
A hidden gem.
There's a glass section of the pavement that reveals preserved remains of the old city wall underneath.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
I know, right? It's so easy to miss if you're not looking for it. And if you want to soak up the atmosphere of the square, the articles recommend Vabaduskovic.
Vabaduskovic. I'll add that to the list.
It's got outdoor seating, so it's perfect for people watching. And apparently the square is really beautiful at sunset.
Okay, so after Freedom Square, I think we need to head to Viru Gate.
Viru Gate, it's like the gateway to the old town.
Literally. It was part of the city's defenses back in the 14th century.
It's got those two iconic stone towers with orange roofs.
The photos I've seen are stunning.
And the street leading up to the gate is just as charming with all the florist stalls, the cafes, the restaurants.
Do you know if there are any hidden gems near Viru Gate?
Actually, yes. The articles recommend Master's Courtyard, which is just a 2-minute walk away.
Okay, what's special about Master's Courtyard?
It's a quieter, more intimate space with cozy cafes and artisan workshops.
Oh, that sounds lovely. And they also said that Viru Gate is particularly beautiful at night.
Yeah, the towers are lit up and it's less crowded.
All right, so after exploring the old town, let's dive into Estonian maritime history.
Okay, you must be talking about the Lennusadam Maritime Museum.
That's the one. It's considered one of Estonia's most popular museums.
And it's not just for history buffs. They have all sorts of interactive exhibits.
Oh, that's good. I like a museum that's engaging. What's the main attraction?
I think it has to be the Lembit submarine.
A submarine.
Yeah, it was built in England in 1937, and it's now housed within the Seaplane Harbor exhibition.
Wow, that's incredible.
And you can also see the short 184 seaplane and the Masilin shipwreck.
The Maslin.
It's the oldest shipwreck found in Estonia.
That's amazing. I'm starting to think we're going to need more than a few days in Tallinn to see everything.
I know, right? Okay, do you know how much the tickets are?
They're 30 euros for adults and 15 for children. And the articles had a couple of suggestions for after you visit the museum.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
They recommend taking a walk along the harbor front to Noblessner, which is a trendy seaside district with great restaurants and art galleries.
I've heard good things about Noblessner.
And if you're looking for a nice place for lunch, Lore Bistro gets rave reviews.
Lore Bistro. Okay, I've got that down.
They're known for their modern Estonian cuisine and seafood.
Sounds delicious.
Reservations are recommended, though.
Of course. All right, so we've explored Tallinn pretty thoroughly. Now, here's a fun twist. Did you know you can take a day trip to Helsinki from Tallinn?
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's just a 2-hour ferry ride.
Wow, that's so convenient.
I know. You can literally visit 2 capital cities in one trip. And the ferry schedule is really flexible.
How much do the ferries cost?
Return tickets are around $42 on the Tallinn-Silja ferries.
That's not bad at all.
And the articles had a few time-saving tips.
Like what?
They suggest booking the 7.30 Tallinn-Silja ferry and adding the breakfast buffet. You get a relaxing start to your day with amazing sea views.
I love good breakfast buffet.
Me too. And once you get to Helsinki, they recommend getting a day pass for the tram system.
That's a good idea. It'll save you time and money trying to figure out individual tickets.
So there you have it, Tallinn, a city that effortlessly blends medieval charm with modern amenities and even offers you the chance to hop over to another country for the day.
It sounds like the perfect destination for someone who wants a bit of everything.
I agree. You know what's really interesting about Tallinn?
What's that?
As we were talking about those ferries to Helsinki, it made me realize just how connected this whole region is.
Yeah, that's a good point. Tallinn's history is so intertwined with its neighbors.
It's like a cultural tapestry with threads from all these different influences, and you see it everywhere in the architecture, the food.
Yeah, and the people too, I'd imagine.
Absolutely. Speaking of influences, the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral is a great example.
Those onion domes are really striking, aren't they?
They're so iconic, and they definitely make you think of Russia, don't they?
Well, they were built in 1900, when Estonia was still part of the Russian Empire. So those architectural influences make sense.
Right. But it's not just a relic of the past, is it?
No, not at all. It's still an active place of worship for many people today.
That's what I find so fascinating about Tallinn. They've managed to preserve their history without being stuck in the past.
It's like a bridge between the old and the new.
Exactly. And speaking of old and new, how about Toonpi Castle? Once a medieval fortress, now the Estonian parliament.
Can you imagine making decisions that affect an entire country in a building like that?
It's pretty incredible. It gives me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, and that view from the Pekuli viewing platform is pretty breathtaking too, right?
Oh, absolutely. The photos I've seen are incredible. Okay, enough about views for now. Let's talk about Katarina Kaik, that charming cobblestone alleyway.
Yeah, the one with all the artisan workshops.
Exactly. I love that you can actually watch the craftspeople at work.
It's like a window into the past, isn't it?
Yeah.
Seeing those traditional crafts being passed down through generations.
I wonder if they ever get tired of tourists watching them work.
Maybe, but, I think there's also a sense of pride in sharing their skills and keeping those traditions alive.
I bet you're right. Okay, I'm officially getting hungry now. All this talk of history and culture is making my stomach rumble.
Well, good thing we're talking about Estonian food next.
I've been reading about Estonian cuisine, and it sounds absolutely delicious.
Oh, it is. It's hearty and flavorful, and they really use fresh local ingredients.
If you're a foodie, this is definitely a city you need to put on your list. And speaking of foodie adventures, a food tour seems like the perfect way to explore the culinary scene.
Yeah, you get to sample a bunch of different dishes and learn about the history behind them.
Right. And you get those insider tips from local experts. What more could you ask for?
Nothing. It's the perfect way to immerse yourself in the local culture.
Okay, so which food tour did our sources recommend?
The Estonian Food, Drink, and History Tour seems to be the most popular one.
That sounds amazing. I love that they include some history along with the food.
Yeah, me too. And they mention trying things like rye bread, berry chips, and homemade schnapps.
I'm sold. But if you're on a budget, there's always Balti-Jama Turk Market.
The market, what kind of food do they have there?
They've got all sorts of affordable street food, local cheeses, fresh pastries.
Oh, I love a good market. So
Yeah.
much to see and smell and taste.
Speaking of taste, for a more formal dining experience, we have to mention Live Restaurant.
Live restaurant. Okay, got it.
It's known for its modern take on Estonian cuisine, and it's supposed to be fantastic,
But reservations are essential.
especially on weekends. Now, are you ready to go high?
Hi. What do you mean?
I'm talking about the Tallinn TV tower, of course. It might seem a bit out of place in a medieval city, but it's an absolute must-see.
Why is that?
Well, for one, it's home to Northern Europe's highest open viewing platform.
Wow, that must be quite a view.
Imagine 574 feet above the ground with 360-degree views of the city and beyond. You can even see Finland on a clear day.
I'm not sure I'm brave enough for that, but I can see the appeal. So how much does it cost to go up there?
It's 16 for adults and 11 for children.
Not too bad. Any tips for visiting?
The articles recommend booking tickets online to avoid the lines, especially on weekends. And if you want to make a day of it, you can get a combo ticket for the TV tower and the Botanic Garden.
A combo ticket. That's always a good idea.
Right. 2 attractions for the price of 1, practically. Speaking of attractions, how about the Tallinn Zoo?
Tallinn Zoo. Okay, I'm intrigued. What's so special about it?
Well, for one thing, it's the only zoo in all of Estonia.
Oh, wow. So it's kind of a big deal.
It is, and they have over 10,000 animals from over 350 different species.
It's a lot of animals to see.
There's a really cool Southeast Asian rainforest exhibit that sounds amazing.
What's so special about it?
It's supposed to be super immersive with humidity, the scent of exotic flowers, the sounds of birds.
Wow, it sounds like they've really gone all out to create an authentic experience.
Yeah. I know, right? And of course, they've got all the classic zoo animals too, like
Yeah.
elephants, polar bears, tigers.
Of course. Now, do you remember how much it costs to visit the zoo?
A family ticket is €21. And before you go, it's always a good idea to check their website for opening times, as they can vary.
Good point. It's always better to be prepared.
Right. Speaking of being prepared, the articles had a couple of suggestions for combining the zoo with other activities.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Tell me again.
You could pair a visit to the zoo with a trip to the Estonian Open Air Museum.
The Open Air Museum. Remind me what that is.
It's basically a collection of historic farm buildings where you can learn about traditional Estonian life.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
Or if you're looking for something more low-key, pack a picnic and head to Rock am Mar Park, which is right on the coast.
So many options. It's hard to choose.
Speaking of choices, let's move on to Kadriorg Park, which is a huge, tranquil park, just a short walk from the city center.
Kadriorg Park. That was the 170-acre park, right?
That's the one. It's full of Beautifully landscaped gardens, lush lawns, peaceful walking paths.
It sounds like the perfect place to escape the city noise and just relax.
It is. And they have some interesting attractions within the park, too.
Like what?
You have the office of the President of the Republic of Estonia.
Wow, the presidential office is in the park.
Yep. And then there's Kadriorg Palace, which is a beautiful Baroque palace.
A palace. That's incredible.
I know. It's like something out of a fairy tale. And if you want to learn more about the park's history, they offer a 2-hour walking tour.
A walking tour. Okay.
Or you can just find a quiet spot and enjoy a picnic. The articles also recommend checking out the Kumu Art Museum, which is just a short walk from the palace.
Oh, the art museum. I remember that. It was Estonia's largest art museum, right?
Right. They have a mix of contemporary and historical Estonian art.
Sounds cool. And how much does it cost to visit?
It's €25, and they say it's quieter in the late afternoon if you're looking to avoid the crowds.
I am. I always prefer a less crowded museum experience.
If you need a caffeine boost before or after your museum visit, Revel Cafe Kadriorg gets great reviews.
All right, I'll have to check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we've done history, we've done nature, we've done art. Now it's time for something a little bit different.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What are we talking about?
Freedom Square.
Freedom Square. It sounds pretty significant.
It is. It's dedicated to Estonia's independence.
Ah, that makes sense.
And there are a couple of key landmarks there.
Like what?
There's the Monument to the War of Independence and St. John's Church.
Okay, so a place with a lot of historical weight.
Definitely. But it's also a really lively spot, especially in the evenings.
I read that they have events there like live music and military parades.
Right. And there's a really cool hidden gem there, too.
Ah, tell me about it. I love hidden gems.
There's a glass section of the pavement that reveals preserved remains of the old city wall underneath.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's so easy to miss if you're not looking for it. And if you want to soak up the atmosphere of the square, Babadušikovic gets great reviews.
Babadušikovic. Okay.
They have outdoor seating, so you can people watch and enjoy the view.
Speaking of views, we can't forget about Viru Gate, the iconic entrance to Tallinn's Old Town.
Ah, yes, Viru Gate, with those two beautiful towers.
And those orange roofs, they're so charming.
It's like something out of a fairy tale.
And the street leading up to the gate is so picturesque, with all the colorful florist stalls.
And those cobblestones. It's like stepping back in time.
It really is. Now, if you're looking for a quieter spot near Viru Gate, the articles recommend Master's Courtyard.
Master's Courtyard. I don't think I've heard of that one.
It's just a 2-minute walk from Viru Gate, but it's tucked away, so it feels more secluded.
Oh, that sounds nice. What's there?
It's got some cozy cafes, artisan workshops, and a really relaxed vibe.
I like it already.
And apparently Viru Gate is especially beautiful at night when the towers are lit up.
Okay, I'm adding that to my list.
Yeah.
All right, enough about the Old Town for now. Let's dive into something a little bit different. Estonian maritime history.
You're talking about the Lennusada Maritime Museum.
That's the one. It's consistently ranked as one of Tallinn's top attractions.
And it's not just for history buffs either. They have a lot of interactive exhibits that make it really engaging for all ages.
Oh, that's good to know. I'm not a huge history buff, but I do love a good museum.
Well, you're in luck. The Lennusada Maritime Museum is anything but boring.
Okay, what are some of the highlights?
Well, the star attraction has to be the Lembit submarine.
A submarine. You can see a real submarine.
You can. It was built in England in 1937, and now it's part of their Seaplane Harbor exhibition.
That's incredible.
They also have a short 184 seaplane, which is pretty cool.
A seaplane, huh?
Yeah, and then there's the Mazillan shipwreck.
The Mazillan.
It's the oldest shipwreck ever found in Estonian waters.
Wow, that's amazing.
Okay, so tickets for the museum are €30 for adults and 15 for children. And after your visit, the articles recommend checking out the Noblessner area.
Noblessner. What is that?
It's a trendy seaside district, about a 10-minute walk from the museum.
Oh, so it's right on the waterfront.
Yeah, it's got great restaurants, art galleries, and some really stunning views.
Sounds like a good place to grab lunch. Any specific recommendations?
The articles mention Lore Bistro, which is known for its modern Estonian cuisine and seafood.
Lore Bistro, okay.
Reservations are recommended, though, especially on weekends.
As always. Okay, now remember how we talked about that day trip to Helsinki?
Yeah, 2 capital cities in one trip. It's a pretty cool opportunity.
It is. And it's so easy to do. It's just a 2-hour ferry ride.
And the ferries run all day long, so you can really tailor your schedule to your liking.
I like that flexibility. So how much are the ferries?
Return tickets are around $42 on the Tallinn-Silja ferries.
Not bad at all.
And the articles recommend booking the 7:30 a.m. ferry and adding the breakfast buffet. You can enjoy your breakfast with some amazing sea views.
I'm always up for a good breakfast buffet.
Me too. And once you get to Helsinki, they recommend getting a day pass for the tram system.
That's a good tip. It makes getting around so much easier and more affordable.
So there you have it, a day trip to Helsinki. It's just one more reason why Tallinn is such a fantastic destination.
I'm convinced. I think we need to book a trip ASAP.
Me too. You know, exploring Tallinn with you has been such a journey. It's amazing how they've managed to preserve that medieval charm while still feeling so modern.
Yeah, it's a really unique balance.
Not a museum city at all, but it's like living history. Yeah.
It is, and it's
Feel
not
good.
forced or anything. It
Yeah.
feels so authentic, like it's just evolved naturally over time.
And another thing that struck me is just how accessible Tallinn is.
No.
Easy to get to, easy to get around.
Right. And the fact that you can hop over to Helsinki for a day trip, that's pretty amazing.
Talk about a two-for-one deal.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have castles, cathedrals, those cobblestone streets.
I'm starting to feel like I could give tours of the old town now.
Well, maybe not tours, but I think you've got a good grasp of the layout.
Definitely. But there's always more to discover, right?
Of course. That's part of the fun of travel.
And that brings me to my final thought. We've talked about all the must-see landmarks, but what about those hidden gems?
Ah, the hidden gem.
The little cafes, the local markets, those chance encounters that make a trip truly memorable.
Those are the moments that really stay with you, aren't they?
So my advice to anyone planning a trip to Tallinn, don't be afraid to wander.
Get lost in those cobblestone streets.
Embrace the unexpected.
You never know what you might find.
Tallinn is a city that invites you to explore, to discover, to connect.
It's a place where history, culture, and nature all come together.
It's been an amazing journey exploring Tallinn with you.
Likewise, I hope we've inspired our listeners to experience it for themselves.
And with that, we'll wrap up our Tallinn deep dive. Until next time, happy travels.